So Wowza Streaming Cloud is our new streaming end-to-end solution at Wowza. And what we're going to be doing is actually using this for today's presentation to stream live from my desktop through Wowza Streaming Cloud and out to all of you on our website. And I'm going to be going through this exact same process here during the webinar and showing you how to emulate this and do this on your own using an encoder like Telestream Wirecast or a hardware-based encoder, or even our Wowza GoCoder app that's on your iPhone. You can very easily use the video and audio that's on your device, be able to live stream that and send that through Wowza Streaming Cloud to your website. So with all that, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to do a couple of introductory slides and then jump into a demo, a hands-on demo where we go through the entire process of how to live stream. So let's go ahead and get started. And just to give you a quick overview of Wowza Media Systems, the goal here at Wowza is to simplify the complexities of video and audio streaming. We've been in business since 2005 and we have customers in over 150 countries. Our flagship product is the Wowza Streaming Engine, which is our award-winning server software. But today we're going to be focusing on Wowza Streaming Cloud, which is our professional quality end-to-end live streaming solution. And here you can see a range of different awards we've won over the years for our server software. So the question you might be asking is, who uses Wowza? Well, the real question to ask is who doesn't use Wowza, because it's used in pretty much every industry there is. Everything from tourism and hotels to public safety, like facilities and banks, transportation, like highway cameras, roads and public transit, webcasting, like enterprise and government. In fact, this is a screenshot of CERN, which is the world's premier nuclear research facility, and they use us to do their live webcasting. Entertainment, sports and concerts, education and distance learning, everything from actual distance learning courses to actual college sports, a range of different uses there. Houses of worship like churches, synagogues, broadcast television, IPTV, over-the-top networks, TV everywhere, and much more. This is just a snapshot of some of the customers that use Wowza. You can see quite a few well-known names in the industry that use this for a variety of different purposes. Everything from audio only to broadcasting from the space station, back down to Earth and delivered through NASA's website. So what we're going to be focusing on today is Wowza Streaming Cloud, which, like I mentioned, is our professional quality end-to-end live streaming solution. The great thing about it is that it's pay-as-you-go pricing. You don't have to provision servers, get them up and running, be able to pay for them on a regular basis. You really just spin up a server using our service. It's all we manage that entire solution for you, and you only pay for the use that you use, including the CDN usage of where you're going to push the live stream to. So in this particular instance, here we have an example of a live concert. So we'd be capturing that live stream with our camera and then be able to use an encoder to encode that raw video and audio feed. So an example of this is just like I'm doing today. I'm actually capturing a live video feed directly here from my desktop. And you can see I'm able to capture this using my camera through Telestream Wirecast through a capture device, and then be able to live stream that directly to my website. So if I was to send the raw video and audio directly from my camera, it's going to be too large to send over the internet. So what we have to do is use an encoder to encode that to a video codec and an audio codec. Well, the problem is a lot of encoders can only transmit over a streaming protocol like RTMP or RTSP. So if you were trying to deliver that to an end user, if there was an RTMP stream, you could only deliver that through a flash player. So that would limit the amount of people that could view you on mobile devices, let's say, or on a range of different networks. The other side to that too is, let's say you're encoding just one high quality stream, like a 1080p or a 720p. Well, if you deliver that directly to your end user, well, you're going to have issues there as well if they're on a 3G network or on a smaller network with limited bandwidth, or if their device can't handle a high quality stream. So what Wowza is able to do with Wowza Streaming Cloud is ingest that high quality stream, and we take care of transcoding that to all the different bit rates and resolutions you need to deliver what's called adaptive bitrate streaming, or ABR streaming. And this is all managed for you. And the only reason I'm telling you this is just to maybe educate you if you're not familiar with what ABR streaming is. But the great thing about cloud is that we're able to do that all for you so that you don't have to do any configuration on that end. You can also use not just a camera and an encoder like Wirecast or a Teradek Cube, you can also use our Wowza GoCoder app, which I'll be showing today. So let's go ahead and switch back to the presentation. So like I mentioned, you would ingest that into Wowza Streaming Cloud and then be able to deliver that to all of these different devices, including a smart-enabled TV, an Xbox or PlayStation console, regular computer, tablet, mobile, over-the-top devices like an Xbox Live, or an Apple TV, or any kind of over-the-top device. So we take care about inputting it, transcoding, preparing, scaling it, and then delivering that through a player for output and playback. So what are some of the benefits of Wowza Streaming Cloud? Well, like I mentioned, it's professional quality with pay-as-you-go pricing, so you get pro-grade live streaming. You can stream to multiple devices with absolutely no worries. We have what we call a modular setup. So you can use any one component of Wowza Streaming Cloud, whether it be the transcoding side of it in the cloud, or whether it be just the CDN delivery side of it. You can easily combine all these different components from Wowza or from other providers for your live streaming solution. The great thing about Wowza, which compares us to maybe some of the other freemium services that are out there, is the fact that you have a completely white label player. So you can completely control your brand, control your branding and your advertising as well. And we have a pay-as-you-go model where you can access all of the features yet only pay for what you use. So we have many of our customers who come to us and be like, hey, can you support a live stream with 10,000 concurrent users? And the great thing about the Wowza Streaming Cloud is you can. If you were to invest in that infrastructure yourself, then let's say you only have 100 people show up. Well, you're going to pay for all that usage with the CDN, with the cloud storage, with the cloud computing, but yet you only get 100 users. Well, with Wowza Streaming Cloud, even though you've budgeted for 10,000, you'll only pay for the 100 usage. And that's the great thing about this pay-as-you-go model. And this isn't just for people who are new to live streaming, although this webinar is geared to those people. There are some very advanced controls. You can leverage our extensive APIs and a lot of advanced features to build your entire live streaming infrastructure on top of Wowza Streaming Cloud. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into a demo. And what we're going to be doing is similar to what we're doing for this live presentation, is we're actually taking in a raw video and audio feed into Telestream Wirecast, and then we're going to deliver that H.264 video and AAC audio over the RTMP protocol into the Wowza Streaming Cloud, which takes care of doing all that stuff in the background to deliver that ABR stream to all these players. And this is exactly what I'm doing for today's webinar. So what I'm going to do is actually go ahead and pull up my feed here and just show you exactly what I'm doing to produce this live stream today. So I'm actually going to pull my Wirecast app over here. I can pull in this video feed, I can add effects like lower thirds and logos, and then be able to do a screen capture as well and send that live feed out. Now the great thing about this is that Wirecast is a software-based encoder, and it's very affordable. There are a couple of different price points. I think it's $500 is the entry level, and then there's a $995 Pro level. And this allows you to capture these video on demand feeds as well as your live stream to be able to encode it, add effects, and then push it out. And what I've done is I've actually gone into Wowza Streaming Cloud and I've configured a new channel. So let me go ahead and give you an introduction as to what that looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and sign out of my account here. And the first thing you can do is you can come to cloud.wowza.com and you can sign up for a free 30-day trial. That 30-day trial does limit you to, I think it's 10 concurrent users, but you can come up here and really do everything that I'm doing in today's presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in with my account. What I want to show you first is exactly how I've connected this using my Telestream Wirecast tool. I'm going to come into my Wowza Media, and in here I can come into my monitor and see all my live streams that are currently happening. If I actually pull this up, you see this gives me it refreshes a snapshot of the current live stream that's coming into my channel. If I click on statistics here, I can actually see the statistics of this inbound encode that's coming from my encoder. I can see my transcoded usage, the CPU usage of that machine, and a lot more. I can come back to the snapshot and see a snapshot of this. I can even pull this up and view this in a player. So just like you guys are viewing this on a web page, and we're actually pushing this to YouTube Live as well, I can very easily preview this directly in here. So you can see there is a live stream, exactly what you guys are seeing I'm doing right here. If I come into my actual channel, here's where I can come in and configure a lot more of these settings. Once again, it pulls up a snapshot of what I'm currently seeing. It gives me a lot of information to be able to connect my encoder, as well as a player embed code so I can embed this in my site. And then if I have my own player, I can even embed these URLs directly in my own player, like JW Player or Flow Player. So there's a lot of different setups here to be able to configure this particular live stream. But what I want to do is, instead of showing you how I've configured this for today's webinar, I actually want to configure this right from the beginning using a completely new channel. And I'm going to use our Wowza GoCoder app to be able to do this. So what I'm going to do is go back to my home, and I'm actually going to switch over to a different work group that I have. So this is our corporate account. I'm going to come into a trade shows work group that I've set up for today's demo. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on live stream up here. And I'm going to click on Add Live Stream. Now when I do this, I'm given a very easy 5-step process to set up a new live channel. I'm going to go ahead and name this Wowza Streaming Cloud Webinar. I'm going to go ahead and call this number 2. The first thing I want to do is, what we're doing with Wowza Streaming Cloud is actually spinning up a cloud computing instance. And what that is really just a virtual machine that exists in the cloud. And we're taking care of doing all of that configuration for you with this service. What we want to do is, wherever we're streaming from, we want to choose a computer, an origin server that's closest to that live stream as possible. So if I go ahead and choose this region, I'm actually in Oregon. Conveniently, I have a data center that's close to me here. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the Oregon region. Right here, I can actually choose if I want to record this live stream. I'm going to go ahead and click on yes. I'm going to click on next. And now I can actually come in and configure my video source settings. Here we have a range of different partners that we work with. So the great thing about Wowza is that we have a great reputation in the industry. We have a lot of what we call Works with Wowza partners that we've created this partner program so we can create a true end-to-end live streaming solution for our end users. So people who come in and are using an Axis IP camera or a Sony IP camera, or they're using an encoder like Telestream Wirecast or a Matrix Monarch device, all these different partners we've worked with to create a one-click configuration where you can configure your encoder using a downloadable XML file that we'll generate for you. And I'll show you very quickly how we can do that directly in this interface. So right in here, I can see that I can select Wowza GoCoder as my encoder, but I could very easily come in here and select my RTSP camera and select that source of that camera or encoder. I could come in and select a Matrix Monarch device and be able to download a configuration file in there. All of these different devices. If you have a device that's not listed here, it's no problem at all. You can come in here and configure another RTMP or RTSP camera, as well as a conventional IP camera very simply. What I'm going to do is select Wowza GoCoder. This is where we can actually choose the ingest of the bitrate that we're doing from our encoder or our camera. So in the interest of saving some bandwidth, I'm actually going to select a 720p stream. Now, if I were to actually ingest a 1080p stream, like I'm doing for today's webinar from Wirecast, you can see what this is telling me. This is actually going to create 6 bitrate renditions in Wowza Streaming Cloud. If I bump this down to 720p, it's only going to create 5 renditions. And what that means is it's going to create all these different renditions necessary to deliver what we call adaptive bitrate streaming. I can also configure if I want this to be a 4:3 ratio or set my own aspect ratio for the ingest as well. If I want to disable authentication on my encoder, I can do that as well. I'm going to go ahead and click on Next. Next, we can actually configure in step 3 the playback settings. This is the width of our player, how large we want that player to be. We can actually choose a poster image to actually go inside of that player. So, if I actually want to select a poster image, I have one configured here. I'm going to go ahead and select this image, actually this poster image right here, this Wowza one. I like that one. I'm going to select that. Here I can actually display a countdown clock. So just like I did for this event today, I can actually choose this event is going to start tomorrow at 5 p.m. and I can actually choose the time. So if I wanted this to be GMT, I can come here and select UTC, and this will start at 5 p.m. UTC GMT time, and a countdown clock will appear until that event begins. I can also choose a logo to display inside the player. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And you can actually position this logo at different parts of the player. Now, I do encourage you, if you have any questions, I have several of my colleagues at Wowza available to answer questions. You can just click on the Do You Have a Question link at the top of the page, and that will allow you to actually chat with one of our representatives if you have any questions throughout. And I will have a live Q&A session at the end where I'll take a lot of the questions. So let me go ahead and click on Next. The next thing is, let's say you don't know anything about HTML. We do give you a HTML div tag with some JavaScript to actually embed that in your own HTML page. But if even that's beyond your grasp, we can actually host a page for you that's hosted out in the cloud. The great thing about this hosted page is, just like the stream, this can actually scale indefinitely to support 1,000, 10,000, 100, 1,000 users, not just the page itself, but the live stream as well. So I'm actually going to choose yes. I want to host a live stream. I'm going to go ahead and call this Wowza Streaming Cloud demo. And then I'm going to say demo of Wowza Streaming Cloud. And just like with the player, I can actually choose a logo for my player page as well. And then finally, I can actually embed some sharing icons as well with some popular social media. I'm going to click on next. The last step here is just to confirm all these different settings that I've set up. So you can see here's step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and step 5. I'm just going to confirm and click on finish. As soon as I click on finish, this will prepare all the settings that I need to start my live stream. All I have to do now is click on start stream, and I can start this live stream. Now, I've already come in here and started a channel with all of these exact settings, and I'm going to come in here. And the reason I'm pulling this particular channel up is because I've already configured my Wowza GoCoder app to stream here. So what I'm going to do is click on start stream. Now, once I click on start stream, this will actually start the stream, and you'll start accruing charges. This will include charges for cloud compute time for that particular instance, as well as transcoding charges and delivery charges to the CDN. Now, of course, the CDN charges will be less if you have less users. It will be more if you have more users. I'm going to click on start. And what will happen is, you'll see in just a couple of minutes, it will actually spin up a virtual machine with our cloud computing partner. And then that virtual machine will be pre-installed with Wowza Streaming Engine. It will be already configured to ingest the stream from the input source that we configure, and we give you the entry point for that. And then that's all the transcoding channels already configured to go. So while this is starting, I actually just want to show you a couple of additional features that are available in here. I'm going to go ahead and just hide this window, and this literally will just take a couple of minutes. What I'm going to do now is actually go to my Wowza GoCoder app. Now, Wowza GoCoder, if you just type that into Google, I can actually pull this up in either iTunes or the Android store. Now, GoCoder is a free app for both iOS and Android that allows you to use the video and audio capture features of your mobile device and be able to capture that live stream and configure it to live stream to Wowza Streaming Engine or to Wowza Streaming Cloud. So what I've done is I've actually come in here and already configured my app to be able to do this on my iOS device. So what I'm going to do is actually pull up a tool called Reflector. And Reflector allows me just to show you guys what I can see on my iPhone. So I'm going to go ahead and just AirPlay my screen to my MacBook here. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this over, hit OK. And what I want to show you is this Wowza Streaming Cloud page is actually very mobile friendly. So you can see this is the exact same page that I'm on inside of my browser. So what I'm doing with my iPhone is I'm actually able to go to this particular channel. You can see here Wowza GoCoder is selected. And what I can do is actually click on this Auto Configure Wowza GoCoder to have everything configured and ready to go to live stream to this channel. So without any configuration settings at all, I can just click on this and be able to do that. One of the other things that I can do is if I come into my live stream setup here, or into my video source, I can actually email this particular configuration URL to myself so I can pull that up inside of my mobile device and be able to live stream directly to my channel. So what I can do now is click on this auto configure, which is what I'm going to do, and it's going to pull up my Wowza GoCoder app. It's going to ask me to overwrite my settings. I'm going to click on yes. And you can see this is a live feed coming directly from my iOS app. You can see here's the camera that I'm using for today's live stream. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over real quick so you guys can see kind of what I'm seeing here. So you can see right here, here's my iOS phone. Here's the actual feed from my phone. And I'm actually able to emulate this with that AirPlay tool called Reflector directly in here. So all I'm going to do now is inside of my Wowza GoCoder app, there is an option here to actually click this live stream button. Now, as soon as I do this, it will actually have all the pre-configured settings to be able to send this directly out to Wowza Streaming Cloud. So I've already clicked on that. Let me go ahead and switch back to my view here. So you can see I clicked on that live stream button. If I come back in here now to my Wowza Streaming Cloud channel, here you can see is a video snapshot of Wowza Streaming, or the Wowza GoCoder app, the feed from that coming directly in here. So if I go ahead and just position this right down here, so I don't have to hold it, here's that feed coming in, and you can see there's the feed coming into my Wowza Streaming Cloud channel. So in literally just a couple of minutes, I've been able to start up a Wowza Streaming Cloud channel, be able to pull in that live stream from my Wowza GoCoder app, and now be able to deliver that to a web page for all of you to view. Now, so you guys don't think that this is all kind of pre-configured and just magic in the background, I'm actually going to share this playback URL. So right here is the playback. If I click on this, I can preview this stream directly inside of a player right here in my Wowza Streaming Cloud channel. And there you go. There's that live feed coming directly in here. I want to show you, of course, this isn't too exciting. It's just my home office. But if I click on this quality setting right here, this will actually show me all of the different transcoded adaptive bitrate streams that Wowza Streaming Cloud is generating. If I switch to a very low quality, this would be something that may be appearing, on a small mobile device that's viewing this live stream on my website. If I'm on a large, smart enabled TV, it would be showing me that 720p feed that's coming in. If you click this on auto, the player will intelligently decide which stream to deliver to you based on your network conditions and the CPU usage of your particular device. So you can see that all this is being created. If I actually switch over to my hosted page here, now I can actually open this hosted page and be able to preview this directly in here. So you can see right there, this is a demo of Wowza Streaming Cloud. This is the description that I typed in here. Here is the title, here's the logo I added, and here's that overlay logo that I added in here as well. If I had chosen to actually add a countdown clock, that would appear until my live event started as well. So what I'm going to do is actually copy this, and I'm going to actually embed this in the page that you guys are viewing right now. So I'm going to go ahead and come in here and be able to edit that. Now, this exact same process is what I've done to emulate this, or to actually live broadcast this particular webinar you're viewing as well, except that I'm using a tool called Telestream Wirecast to do it as opposed to Wowza GoCoder. So if I come into my landing page here, I'm actually going to show you what I'm doing to embed this particular player inside of my own page. So I'm actually going to come in here, and what I'm using for today's for my actual HTML editor is a tool called HubSpot. And HubSpot is just an online HTML editor that allows us to do a lot of our marketing at Wowza. If I come in here and edit this page, this is actually the page that you guys are viewing in real time to watch this webinar. And what I want to show you real quick is you'll see over here, this will be the live feed and the page that you guys are viewing. There's a preview of the page itself. Here's that actual live feed that you guys are viewing. And what I'm actually able to do here is pull up this page and be able to pull up the source code for this. So what I'm going to do here is actually view the source code for this particular player. So what I've been able to do is from my Wowza Streaming Cloud channel is I'm able to actually copy the playback right here. Right down here it provides me with an embed code. So this embed code, if I actually copy this, I can embed this inside of my HubSpot page or my HTML page. So if I come back in here, you can see this is the div tag that I've been able to paste to embed this player on my own page. And as soon as I hit OK, that gets updated to the page and I'm able to actually view this inside of my live HTML page. And you can see those are all the steps that I can do to actually enable this live stream and do that for my Wowza Streaming Cloud channel. So if I actually come back into my live stream here, I want to show you a few of the additional features that are available. So what I'm going to do is I've showed you this exact, I'm actually going to stop this GoCoder stream that I have going on right now, just because I want to save some of my local network bandwidth. So I'm going to come back to my home, and I'm going to switch back over to my Wowza Media Systems work group. The great thing about these work groups is you can set up multiple work groups for different customers. So if you have, different customers that you're doing this for, you can set up different work groups so they can manage their own live streams. Or if you have a variety of employees who are doing this, you can set up different accounts for different employees under one master account. What I want to do is actually come into my monitor here, and I want to pull up my Wowza webinar live stream in here. Now, one of the things that I've done with these advanced features is I've showed you a very simple 5-step configuration to get a live stream up and running. One of the things that I want to do is show you some of the advanced features of what we're doing inside of Wowza Streaming Cloud as well. If I come into the Advanced tab here, right in here I can see that I have the option to configure my transcoders, my stream sources, and my stream targets. I can also view logs for my particular channels as well. I'm actually going to come into transcoders because that's what I'm using to actually push this live stream that you're seeing today, this webinar, to our YouTube live page as well. So if I pull up YouTube live here, right in here we have the ability to view our live stream of our YouTube on our YouTube side as well. And how I'm doing this is that inside of my Wowza Streaming Cloud, if I pull up this particular webinar, I'm pulling up the transcoder profile for this particular webinar. Right in here, it tells me all the different outputs and targets that are pre-configured when I created this channel. Now, I haven't come in here and changed any of this at all. You can see here is my output target for the different bit rates. Here is my 720p, here's my 480p, my 360, 288, 180p, and here is my pass-through 1080p, which is that high-quality ingest that I'm ingesting from Telestream Wirecast. One of the things that I've done in here is I've actually configured this. If I come in here and actually select the outputs and targets, I've come in here and I've added a new target to push the high-quality 1080p feed to our YouTube live site as well. So one of the questions we often get is, why should I pay for service when I can just use YouTube Live instead? Well, I like addressing this question because with YouTube Live, you are on their site. You're at the mercy of their branded player. With Wowza Streaming Cloud, you have the ability to be able to create a white label player. You can control the entire process from start to finish, an end-to-end solution. But then you can also push one of these transcoded streams to YouTube Live and take advantage of all the social media benefits of that YouTube Live channel as well. And that's as easy as setting a new output in here as a different source. You can also do this to send this to your own CDN. So let's say that you want to use Wowza Streaming Cloud to actually transcode all these different streams, but you have your own contract with your own CDN like Akamai or Limelight or Level 3. Well, you can actually use Wowza to do that cloud computing, but then push those transcoded streams to your own CDN, and that way you don't pay for the CDN usage, you just paid for the cloud computing time. Those are really the benefits that you're getting from doing this workflow. Similarly, if you're actually doing all your own transcoding already on your own instance of Wowza Streaming Engine, you could very easily transcode that to all the different ABR streams and just use Wowza Streaming Cloud for the CDN side of it. So that's what we talk about when we talk about this whole modular side of it. And if all of this is confusing and this is all gibberish to you, then just ignore what I just said and just go with all the simple configuration settings that I showed in the first example. And I think that's really the benefit you get from this. One of the things I want to show, apart from these advanced features, is if I come into my monitor here, I can also view a lot of the live statistics of what's going on inside of my channel. So I can see the total concurrent amount of users that are in here. I can be able to drill down and see a lot of logs of how much bitrate I've used and a lot more information like that. So there's a lot of additional configuration settings that can be done in here to view what's going on inside of your channel. So you can see if I come back in here, I can view a lot of the information in here about my channel statistics, my transcoded streams. I can view and see a lot of those logs. If I click on usage right here, I can actually see that live usage of what's going on, the amount of network usage, how long my live stream has been up. If you use this particular channel on a regular basis, whether it be daily or weekly, if you're a church and do this every Sunday, you can see the amount of peak users for a particular time period or date period. So it's very easy for you to come in here and see your complete amount of network usage. So I had a really interesting question ahead of the webinar that was asking, how can I estimate the amount of time that I'll be using and how much data usage will I have? So with Wowza GoCoder, the example I gave with my iPhone is there's I think a user in Norway who was interested in live streaming his marathon. So he was going to run a marathon. Let's be polite here and say he was probably going to finish in 3.5 hours. Well, if he did that marathon with Wowza GoCoder, he could use his existing mobile carrier like Verizon or T-Mobile or Orange is one of the ones that you can have in Europe. Whoever his mobile provider is, he would be able to use the network bandwidth and live stream directly over his 3G, 4G LTE connection directly up to Wowza Streaming Cloud. Well, it's hard for us to estimate the amount of complete usage you would need in that 3 or 4 hour time period. It would depend on the size of your ingest. If it was only 480p, well, of course, that's going to be lower than if it was a HD quality 720p stream. So all those things take into account how much usage you're going to have. Just to give you an example is in the 30 minutes that I've been up here, I can see the total amount of usage that I've had here. I can see the usage of how much has come in and how much is then also being delivered. So my total network usage so far for X amount of concurrent users is about 4 gigabits. And that's what I've used for this particular webinar so far. One of the things we tell our customers is, test, is I would recommend if that was your use case and you have, let's say, a 3 or 4 hour event, do a live test of it, see how much usage you have in a test environment, and then you'll be able to estimate exactly how much output usage you have. I think one of the great benefits of doing adaptive bitrate streaming is the fact that you're not paying for a 1080p output for every user, because a lot of those users will only be consuming one of the lower quality renditions, which creates a better playback experience for them. That's also true for you. It's like the network usage you'll end up paying for is a lot less on the CDN bandwidth side because you're paying less for someone who's consuming a smaller quality stream. So it's a win-win both from the bandwidth consumption side as well as for the playback side, so there's no buffering. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into some questions. I know I've been talking, for a good 30 minutes. I actually have a couple more slides that I want to show, and we'll see. I have a question here that's saying, is Wowza Streaming Cloud totally different from Wowza Streaming Engine, and what are these different facilities? So that's actually a great question. Is Wowza Streaming Engine is our server software that actually runs Wowza Streaming Cloud. I would say the drawback to Wowza Streaming Engine is the fact that you have to be a somewhat savvy user to be able to spin up an instance or install Wowza Streaming Engine on your own computer in your data center or in the cloud. If you're already lost in being able to do that, then Wowza Streaming Cloud is truly a managed service where we've done all of the heavy lifting for you to be able to just plug in your live camera and encoder and be able to live stream directly from there. With Wowza Streaming Engine, you do have the benefit of controlling it at the server level. There's a lot more configuration you can do, and you can also do a hybrid solution. We have plenty of Wowza Streaming Cloud customers that are using this setup in conjunction with their own instance of Wowza Streaming Engine. And a great example of that is, let's say you do have your own computer or your own server that's running Wowza Streaming Engine in the cloud. Well, that particular server may only be able to handle, let's say, 100 or 200 concurrent users. If it gets anywhere above that, both from a bandwidth side as well as from a concurrent user side, that server will start suffering performance-wise because of network limitations as well as hardware limitations on the server itself. Well, what you're able to do with Wowza Streaming Cloud is ingest that origin ingest of that stream on your Wowza Streaming Engine instance, be able to transcode, but then just deliver all that to Wowza Streaming Cloud for the CDN delivery. So the Wowza Streaming Cloud ends up being almost a fail-safe if you happen to go above X amount of users. And once again, it's hard for us to say exactly how many users because it would depend on how robust your server is that's running Wowza Streaming Engine. But that would be a good example of how you could use a hybrid solution with both Engine and Cloud. With Engine, someone like CERN, which is that nuclear research facility that I referenced at the beginning of the webinar, they don't have a use case for cloud because they're doing everything from their own data center in Geneva in Switzerland. They also have their own CDN inside of their own corporate network. So they're able to use different Wowza streaming engines all around the world to be able to push their live stream to, let's say, Hong Kong or to the US. And be able to send that to all of their different people who are consuming that webcast. So they of course have the data center and they have the investment to be able to invest in all that infrastructure. But if you don't have that, Wowza Streaming Cloud is a great solution to be able to do that. So before I take any more questions, let me go ahead and just jump back in and talk a little bit about pricing and some of the additional features that are available here. So what we did in the demo here is we were able to actually ingest from a video camera into Wirecast, send that to Wowza Streaming Cloud, and then deliver that out through a player. And that's exactly what I'm doing for the webinar today. So, really what are we doing from a technical perspective? Well, just like I mentioned about a CDN, even if that's a confusing term for you, all CDN means is a content delivery network. So what we're able to do with Wowza Streaming Cloud is from our encoder, and we're using Wirecast today, we ingest that into an origin server that's running with one of our cloud computing partners. And then that origin server takes care of all the transcoding and the transmuxing to these different protocols to deliver to the CDN and then deliver that out to end users all around the world. The wonderful thing about this is, let's say you're not expecting a user, you're based in Hong Kong and you're trying to deliver to someone in New York. Well, Wowza Streaming Cloud takes care of all of that for you. You don't have to worry about there being a lot of latency in that stream. All that gets taken care of with this particular setup that we've done with Wowza Streaming Cloud. As I mentioned previously, we have this seamless end-to-end solution with our Works with Wowza partner program. So we've been able to create these configuration files with our camera partners as well as with our encoder partners. And we support a range of different cameras and encoders that aren't even listed here as well. We also have some technical support plans. So, we have our standard support, which has a 40-hour response time that's available for email only. We also have a premium level of support that's available if you are looking for a higher level of support. And then we also have started what we call our event support. If you're looking to do a live event, some Wowza experts can be available to help you configure that event. If you have a high expectation from your customer that everything needs to go seamlessly and you need some consulting from that perspective, we can provide that with our event support as well. So definitely to find out more, go to wowza.com/product/streaming cloud. There's a link directly on our homepage. There's also a free trial on that particular page where you can have 30 days of access to do a lot of what I've been doing today. You can have 5 hours of stream processing time, up to 10 concurrent viewers, and an unlimited number of live streams. And I do understand that 10 concurrent viewers isn't a huge amount, but it is a free trial after all. So we also can download our Wowza GoCoder app from either iTunes or the Google Play Store to get a live stream going, just like I showed in today's demo. You can also read a lot of how-to docs on how to configure a lot of these cameras and encoders on our forums. And what I want to do as well is actually open it up to questions, but I want to switch over to show you some of the pricing models that are available for Wowza Streaming Cloud. I think one of the really amazing things about this is that with our Wowza Streaming Cloud service, we're really democratizing live streaming. And actually, if I go to wowza.com, you guys can pull up pricing directly on your end as well. So right here under pricing, I can actually choose Wowza Streaming Cloud and see some of those plans. And we have plans starting as low as $15 per month plus usage. So you can see here we have a pay-as-you-go subscription. If I actually zoom in here a little bit, you can see this a little bit better. So with the $15 a month, let's say you only live stream, one event a month, and it's only a 1 hour or 2 hour event. You can really pay for just that $15 a month level, plus whatever additional usage you have. An additional hours start at only $6 per hour, plus the amount of network usage that you have. So in the case of the marathon runner, he would probably pay for this $15 a month plan, and that 10 gigabyte network usage, he would only pay for the amount of people that are viewing that. So if he only has, let's say, 10 family members and friends that are viewing that live stream, he would only pay for that amount of usage plus the balance. There are also these other kind of subscription levels as well. There's a $49 a month, there's a $299, and then of course for larger subscriptions there's $599 a month. There are also higher plans. We've had customers that have come to us that are long-standing Wowza Streaming Engine customers who have actually told us that our CDN pricing is more affordable than what they're able to negotiate on their end. One of the things about content delivery networks like Akamai and Limelight and Level 3 is that most of them require you to purchase a huge amount of data ahead of time. What that means is, let's say you don't end up getting the amount of usage. We actually had a customer recently in India who purchased a huge amount of data, expecting 10,000 concurrent viewers. They actually ended up having under 1,000 viewers for their live event. So in a situation like that, if you use Wowza Streaming Cloud, you're not having to negotiate these large contracts, and they're not even able to use that particular bandwidth. So there are benefits to be able to use the Wowza Streaming Cloud. Plus, we feel our CDN pricing is quite competitive as well. So I think at this point, I'll definitely open it up to questions. We're running right up against the 9:45 Pacific time. I have a question here saying, how many cameras can I get on one of your instances? So that's a great question. For any concurrent live stream, any one channel, you can only have one ingest point at any one time. Otherwise, you may get the issue where they override each other. So just to give you an example of that is, I have one live stream right now for this particular Wowza Streaming Cloud webinar that I'm running. If I was to fire up another instance of Wirecast or even my Wowza GoCoder app at the same live stream channel, it would override it. Now, what you can do is you can set up as many concurrent channels as you want at any given time. So let's say you're running multiple IP cameras, you could have multiple channels in here and you only pay per usage. Now, of course, you will be paying for the cloud computing time for each of those cameras that you have live. Unfortunately, there's no way to live switch between multiple cameras at this time. We just launched the service this year, so we're continually looking to add new features. And who knows, that may be a feature we may end up adding in the future. It would be pretty cool if you could actually pull in multiple IP camera feeds and choose which one of those you want to be your live stream. So you can almost do a live production out in the cloud. It's something we've thought about, we may be able to do in the future. I do encourage you, if you have any questions, send those to support@wowza.com. We're very quick about getting back. If you have any kind of implementation questions or questions about what's available from a sales perspective, and you want someone to contact you, send an email to sales@wowza.com. We can definitely work with you to try to figure out what plan is best suited for your live streaming event. And we'll also be very honest with you and tell you if a Wowza Streaming Engine instance is better for your particular use case. We're really in the business of trying to make our customers successful, whether that be Wowza Streaming Cloud or Wowza Streaming Engine. We can really work with you on that and try to find the best solution that's tailored to making your live stream a success. One of the things that we are looking to launch in the very near future with Wowza Streaming Cloud is the ability to live stream record, as you can see. We're also looking to implement our digital video recorder feature, where you can actually live pause and rewind and playback for your live event. So that's something that you can look for in the very near future. And we're continually looking to add new features. We currently aren't doing video on demand streaming for Wowza Streaming Cloud. We're just doing live streaming. If you are interested in doing video on demand streaming, Wowza Streaming Engine is used for that as well. There may be, a need down the road to actually do that with Wowza Streaming Cloud, but we'll see. But thanks so much for attending today's webinar. And like I mentioned, reach out to us, go to wowza.com, look at some of these affordable pricing plans. And as always, thank you so much for attending today's session. And I'd really like to hear some feedback on what you thought of today's live stream. If you found it to be good quality, if the audio was great. We're looking to use our software to continually improve our own webcasting as well. So thanks so much for your time today, and we look forward to seeing you in the future. Take care.